In year 3 of the pandemic, it could still be difficult to know whether the information you see online or hear from friends is accurate, like playing a game of telephone with science. Take this claim about myocarditis, the inflammation of heart muscles, from podcaster and comedian Joe Rogan.
I don't think it's true that there's an increased risk of myocarditis from people catching COVID that are young versus increased risk of myocarditis from the vaccine.
No, there is. There's both.
Well, let's look that up because I don't think that's true.
You could see that there was some debate there between Rogan and broadcaster Josh Zepps. So let's verify. Are you more likely to suffer from myocarditis after getting COVID or after getting vaccinated? We spoke with these 3 experts. We also checked out a bunch of studies, including this one from the CDC. First, we can verify that yes, COVID-19 has been proven to cause myocarditis in some patients. And yes, some people do suffer from myocarditis after getting vaccinated. But we need a ton of context when comparing the two. So let's start here. Who's at risk of developing myocarditis? In this case, Joe Rogan was right. Young men in their late teens and early 20s appear to have the highest rates of myocarditis post-vaccine. Dr. Judy says this was a trend pre-pandemic, even with other vaccines.
There is a predilection of men, or I should say young men, just men in general, and part of that is thought to due to hormonal effects.
Next, how severe could myocarditis be post-vaccine and post-COVID?
The vaccine-induced myocarditis seems very different than other types of myocarditis. It seems mild, it seems to not leave permanent damage, and it seems to be manageable.
This CDC study backs up that same conclusion. As for COVID patients
who do get COVID and get myocarditis as a result of it, more likely to be hospitalized, more likely to have more significant outcomes.
Next, what are the rates of myocarditis in vaccinated people versus in people who get COVID? Dr. Judy gave us these numbers. Pre-COVID, the estimated rate was 1 to 10 cases per 100,000 people per year. Vaccine-related myocarditis has been reported in 0.3 to 5 cases per 100,000 vaccinated people. And based on these Israeli studies, young men have the highest incidence rate after receiving a second mRNA dose. They found that those rates to be about 10 and 13 per 100,000. But listen to this. Direct COVID-related heart injury or myocarditis is found in 1,000 to 1,400 per 100,000 people with COVID-19. That's hundreds of times higher. Here's the bottom line.
But remember that in the current environment, COVID-19 is so prevalent that if you're not vaccinated, you have a much higher chance of getting myocarditis from infection than you would from the vaccine.
So we can verify that this claim is false. While young men are at a higher risk of developing myocarditis after their second mRNA dose compared to the other population groups, it is still much lower than the risk of COVID-induced myocarditis. With your Verify, I'm Evan Kozlov.